Joining us now to discuss, among other issues, Democratic Congresswoman Yasamin Ansari of Arizona. What is your reaction to all these allegations about Congressman Mills?
I mean, the allegations are incredibly disturbing. When I first heard about them, I was, devastated to hear that and thought that action should be taken immediately. It has taken a little bit longer than necessary to get to the point where now there is an investigation within the Ethics Committee, and there are several colleagues of mine, it's a bipartisan committee, so Democrats and Republicans are investigating the allegations against Congressman Mills, and I think that, if they are to be found true, I think there should be very serious repercussions, and I think expulsion should certainly be on the table.
And we should note, if Congressman Mills is out there and he wants to come on the show to talk about this, open invitation, please come on. Let's turn to some other disturbing reports. We learned today that the Justice Department's internal watchdog, the Inspector General, is launching an investigation into the Justice Department's production of files and documents related to the Epstein case, specifically some of the redaction issues, where there were allegedly over-redactions of men and under redactions of victims or survivors. How much faith do you have that this Inspector General will be able to bring some accountability here?
I think it's an important step. The role that Inspector Generals play for, in our government is really important. That's why the gutting of some of these Inspector General offices last year by DOJ and the Trump administration were very disturbing. So it's a great first step. I have no doubt that under Pam Bondi's leadership, the former Attorney General, there has been a massive cover-up under this White House at the direction of Donald Trump. That's why, as part of the Oversight Committee, as you know, there was a bipartisan subpoena to have Pam Bondi come forward, and they have displayed just outright defiance of the law and this lawful subpoena. Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche came before us and tried to have this fake hearing with the Oversight Committee, closed doors, no media, no C-SPAN, nothing was transcribed. And when we realized what a sham the whole thing was, and this was their attempt to get out of the actual hearing and actual deposition, we all walked out. And our ranking member, Robert Garcia, and all of us as Democrats have said that we will hold Pam Bondi in contempt if she does not come forward. The hearing was supposed to be on the 14th of April, and she is clearly trying to defy the law here.
The chairman of your committee, James Comer, Republican of Kentucky, he says that there's a split in the committee over whether or not Ghislaine Maxwell, the Epstein accomplice who's in prison, should be pardoned by the president in exchange for her testimony. Who on the committee wants her to be pardoned?
I have not heard the specific names, but that is enraging if that is true. I mean, Comer has said that he does not believe that. I know he said that he was misquoted. But I mean, to be honest with you, Jake, there's only a handful of people on that committee who are genuine on the Republican side about getting accountability. It's some of the women that you just showed, who have been consistent in, working with Democrats on subpoenas to have people come forward. The rest of the crew does not care. And in fact, they would love nothing more than for this to go away. That is unbelievable. Let's remind the American public that Ghislaine Maxwell is an absolute monster. I mean, she is just in line with Jeffrey Epstein. She's committed vast crimes and was critical in this child sex trafficking ring. She should not be pardoned at all. She should not be in the cushy prison that she's in.
Yeah.
And she should be testifying under oath without any sort of incentives provided to her. It's absurd.
You are the only Iranian American Democrat in the House of Representatives, and you co-signed a letter today requesting that the Trump administration immediately institute protections for Iranian nationals who are currently in the United States, who can't go home because of the war. Tell us about that.
So under this administration's policies, USCIS has put a pause on all processing of immigration benefits, and actually there's now no legal pathway. So think about people like students. There's 12,000 Iranian students at everywhere from Arizona State University to Stanford to MIT studying, and potential future contributors to our economy. There's people lawfully here on work visas. All of those people are in limbo. So let's say they're graduating in May. They will be forced to return to Iran, where the regime in Iran just massacred thousands and thousands of people. And now we have a heightened situation with the ongoing U.S. war on Iran. And so what Senator Markey and I are asking for is to protect those individuals, to have processes for them. And then I will be introducing legislation in short order to grant those individuals temporary protected status, because that they would qualify. I mean, when you look at the designation of what TPS means, it's for a country that is having civil unrest, has a repressive regime, is in a war, and all of that applies here. People being sent back to Iran right now would be facing persecution and potentially even worse.
Yeah, Congresswoman Yasamin Ansari, Democrat of Arizona, thank you. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you.
Come back here soon. The New York Times says the FBI investigated one of its